Welcome back, everyone, to another explainer. Today, we are tackling something absolutely crucial: training room technology. If you're a corporate training manager, part of an L&D team, or a seasoned facilitator, you already know that the environment is literally everything. So we're going to unpack the essential guide to making sure your next session is completely seamless, pulling straight from industry best practices.
Let's be real for a second. Have you ever had a session completely derailed by a laptop that just flat out refuses to connect to the screen? Or maybe a microphone that lets out this deafening screech right at your big aha moment? Yeah, it's the absolute universal nightmare for anyone standing in front of a live audience. Bad tech can quickly undermine a brilliantly designed session, burning through your valuable training time and instantly frustrating your participants.
Which brings us to the core philosophy for our explainer today. Training room technology should support learning rather than distract from it. Ideally, your tech should be totally invisible. Reliable screens, clear audio, seamless connections, they shouldn't be the stars of the show. They are just the foundation that lets facilitators actually focus on the participants and the learning outcomes instead of, frantically troubleshooting equipment.
To make sure your next event is technically flawless, here's our game plan. We'll start with why training tech matters, outline the essential equipment, look at how formats and layouts dictate your needs, run through a foolproof planning checklist, compare built-in AV to hired gear, and finally, look at specialized training venues by Karstens.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Why Tech Matters, and its actual impact on learning. The stakes for getting this right early on are incredibly high. Your technology directly dictates how confidently presenters deliver and how smoothly the whole thing runs. A well-planned setup does some serious heavy lifting for you. It cuts down delays, makes sure everyone can actually see and hear, encourages interaction, loops in remote attendees seamlessly, and ultimately protects the professional reputation of your program. Honestly, it's the main difference between an amateur gathering and a highly polished corporate event.
Let's move on to Section 2, Essential Technology. We're talking the absolute core requirements here. Here is your non-negotiable checklist. First up, a clearly visible screen or projector. Second, device connectivity. Presenters show up with all sorts of laptops and tablets, so you've got to have HDMI, USB-C, or wireless options ready to go. Pro tip, always ask what they're bringing. You also need rock-solid Wi-Fi, clear audio, and accessible charging. If people are on laptops all day, you absolutely need table-level power that isn't going to be a massive tripping hazard.
When it comes to the visuals, it usually boils down to a choice between digital displays and projectors. Digital screens are incredibly bright, super sharp, and generally the best pick for small to medium rooms. Projectors, on the other hand, are your go-to for bigger spaces, where you need a massive image so the person sitting way in the back isn't squinting. It all just depends on your room design, audience size, and the lighting. Now take a look at this number, 30. Why does that matter? Well, a room where 30 people are actively streaming video or downloading huge digital workbooks needs a vastly different internet capacity than a room where just one facilitator is clicking through a slide deck. Never just ask a venue, hey, do you have Wi-Fi? You have to explain your actual expected usage and participant numbers to make sure the bandwidth doesn't just collapse 10 minutes into your interactive workshop.
Moving right along to Section 3, Formats and Layouts, your specific event format totally shifts what you need.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how those needs change. In a standard classroom setup, your biggest risk is poor screen visibility over a sea of open laptops, so a highly visible screen, strong Wi-Fi, and a whiteboard are key. But in a workshop, the risk is actually the tech distracting from human participation, so you really want collaborative tools and flip charts. Then there's hybrid training, which is a totally different beast, where the primary risk is remote attendees just feeling completely left out.
Now, what's fascinating about hybrid training is the hierarchy of needs here. We always obsess over camera positioning, right? But step 2, clear audio, is actually paramount. Audio quality often matters way more than video for remote folks. They have to hear the presenter clearly, but the room mics also need to pick up in-person audience questions without causing an awful echo. You also need a solid plan for remote engagement, and you absolutely must run a full hybrid test before the event kicks off.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, your tech planning checklist. Technology is a timeline, not just a day of detail. Here's the exact chronological timeline you need to mitigate those technical risks. When booking the venue, confirm your AV inclusions and Wi-Fi capacity. 2 weeks out, confirm those presenter devices and test your online platform permissions. The day before, get your backup presentation files onto a USB and pack your adapters. And finally, before participants even arrive on the day, connect the actual laptop, play a video out loud to test the room speakers, and check your conferencing links.
Sticking to that timeline prevents the absolute worst day-ruining mistakes. We're talking about assuming laptops will just magically connect, or forgetting to test the sound, or choosing a screen that is way too small for detailed software demos, relying on basic consumer-level Wi-Fi for a room full of professionals, forgetting charging access, or a big one, introducing way too many digital platforms, which just gives everyone login fatigue and eats up valuable learning time.
To avoid all that friction, let's look at Section 5, built-in AV versus hired equipment, and choosing the right support. There is a massive operational difference here. Built-in AV simplifies standard corporate training immensely. The setup is way faster because it's already integrated into the room's acoustics and sightlines. It's incredibly reliable because the on-site staff actually know how to use it. And the cost predictability is much better since it's often packaged into the room hire. Externally hired gear means separate deliveries, extra testing, and sometimes an external operator, which makes sense for a huge complex production, but just adds unnecessary headaches for standard training.
So here is the bottom line. Organizers and facilitators should be able to focus entirely on the participants and learning outcomes, rather than diagnosing tech problems. Having experienced on-site technical assistants ready to jump in to connect a tricky device or fix a hybrid link, it's invaluable. It cuts down disruption and keeps your presenters feeling confident and focused on teaching. Which leads us to our final section. Section 6, Karsten's Venues, the ultimate solution for reliable, stress-free setups. Karsten's provides purpose-built conference and training venues across all the major Australian cities: Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. They basically take all the friction out of the process with built-in presentation tech, professional screens, and rock-solid business-grade Wi-Fi. And crucially, they offer that vital on-site event and tech assistance we just talked about. Plus, if you're running the exact same program across multiple cities, you can use them as a single national partner to keep your layouts and technology perfectly consistent everywhere.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this question. How much is peace of mind actually worth for your next training program? Effective training room technology has to be reliable, appropriate for the space, and perfectly aligned with your learning format. Don't leave it to chance. Plan early, stick to those checklists, and definitely consider reaching out to Karsten's to guarantee your next event goes off without a single technical hitch. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.